Having been inspired by the Japanese garden, we're following it on with our interpretation of our little garden, which we both love and put a lot of effort into. This is the front garden here, and you can see the Japanese anemones which are flying over from next door's garden, but now we've got them in the back garden, which we'll follow on later on. The garden is nearly past its best now, but still has a lot of colour. Looking here is next door's house, where I used to get my water from, but I can't anymore. Panning across to the pond, you can see the fountain, which I spent all day yesterday clearing all the filters out because of the dreadful weed that blocks them. Here's a close-up of the pond, which is now quite clear. The water feature and filter is made out of a fallen down street lighting cover, which I converted into the filter. You can see the fish swimming around, but not as good as the koi carp, but nevertheless I'm very pleased with them. You can just see the tail end of one of the fish there, which I've had for many years now. And there is Michael's present to me for the garden, which he gave to us 3 years ago. On here is a seat in the front garden where you can see the people that we think a lot of are remembered. Panning across we can see Pam's water feature, which was to be her golden wedding present, but she never lived to see it. But it's still there, and as we're panning into the little pup on the right hand side with the hedgehog, you can see young Tanny now has joined his mum as part of the water feature. You can see now how the entrance to the garden looks, and out the back Christine's made her own contribution and made her own little Japanese garden, and really it's for the first time that she's been able to imprint herself on the plants I provide for her, but she can give all the ideas to. Walking up the garden path now towards the garden, the back garden, you can see there is still quite a bit of colour in the garden, but you know, it's towards back end now. It's nearly September, so, and the clock there tells me when to go in, which never seems to work, so I never go in. As you can see, one of the hanging baskets is still looking quite nice, and go across to the front you can see two others, and especially that I love is Pam's painting on the tile at the top above that hanging basket, which she did by hand when she was ill, but not too ill to be able to use her hands. This year I've tried tobacco plants for the first year, but unfortunately I got them mixed up with the petunias and all in the wrong place, but seem to be thriving nevertheless. We're coming into the back garden now, and as you can see the fuchsias are still quite good, and there's Pam's rose which I planted for her, and climbing up through it is a clematis which is flowering now for the second time. This is just outside the back door, and again the fuchsias are looking good, but the hydrangeas aren't so good this year because I trimmed them right back because they were getting out of hand. And there you can see our little bird of prey, which is windchime, which protects the back garden and doesn't frighten off all the birds. As you can see, the tobacco plants are growing out there with the runner beans. Everything's scrambling over everything else. It has its chance, and it seems to make it somehow. There we have a begonia, Sutherlandii, which always does wonderfully every year, and is part of the feature of the garden. Panning right now we can see the windows and all Christine's lovely flowers inside. The Buddhas were bought from Christine's garden when we got married and she came to live with me and became my wife in 2013. As you can see, her Buddhas certainly look well in place in the garden. In the background are all the mirrors which I got from BT when they were modernising them and chucking them all out. So me, being who I am, decided they were too good to chuck out and I could use them. Even the touch lamps that break I use as hanging baskets, as you can see. There's one there, which is quite effective really. As I said, the hydrangeas aren't as good this year, but they have given a good show and are still flowering quite nicely. We feed the birds, as you can see, and we have all sorts of varieties of birds in the garden, which Christine diligently fills up every day, especially for the starlings and pigeons. Don't we love them? Here's one of the hanging baskets which I bought from the front yesterday because Christine loves it so much and she wanted it in her garden. If we go left here past the greenhouse, you can see all the plants we've added, which are the cordylines, and at the top the aces, which are beginning of the summer were just a foot high, which are potted on and are now a feature of the garden. All the brown containers came from Christine's garden too. And here is the Japanese anemone which we bought recently to enhance the garden with its Japanese flavour. The pears are very small at the beginning of the summer, have come on quite nicely and should establish quite well. Here's a picture of the water feature which I created this week to give the sound, as you can hear, of the water, and it's not too deafening. And there's an English goldfish there, not koi carp. There are two koi in the front pond, but we can't see them because they're of the what they call the ghost koi, which are very difficult to see in dark water. This was Sandra's present to us, which you can see Christine's filled with ajuga and various other plants to make it look nice. Here's one of the wind chimes I made out of seashells, which is one of the many in the garden that make lovely noises. In the far corner, although not in flower now, you can see a wonderful plant which was about a foot high when I first bought it, and is now 7 foot high, near my green fingers. This is a camellia where they need lots of water during the summer months to make sure they flower in the spring. There's a lovely white one out the front which we bought up in Christine's garden. There's the doggies that welcome me to the back garden. And this is a view looking back past the arch, out of the garden, out into the front, which the two seem to blend in nicely as you walk through. The new addition this year are the special rubber mats which we put down so that visitors to the garden don't trip up and hurt themselves. Well, we hope you've enjoyed this little short video of our garden, and no doubt you'll see it when Christine puts it on YouTube. Thank you for listening. Bye.